$48 5 years later, any financial advisor would say do that all day long. So the MFN program is unique because, especially for a bookseller, because it opens you up to so much more of the book catalog, because some books that I would buy that I would never touch with FBA, I have no problem buying MFN because I know I can buy them and I can just leave them sit there and just wait for that day that they sell. I do both programs, and when I'm sourcing, generally what I look for on FBA items, I want to be able to make a $10 profit off of anything that I sell over the cost of the book. Plus that book has to have an ASR of under 2 million. On the MFN side, the profit is exactly the same. I go for a $10 profit. On that side, I will go up to 3.5 million on the sales rank because I know I can leave that book sit there. And I actually limit myself at 3.5 million on the MFN side only because I feel like I can get enough books under 3.5 million that I don't go any higher than that. For other booksellers, I would tell you that if you're not getting the inventory you want, I would play with that sales rank. I would go higher than that. Maybe 3.5 million, I would add more profit into it. There's no reason to take that up a notch and take those risks on those books, especially if you're sourcing them. Let me make it really clear. Like, I will not buy a book for $50 that sells for $80 and have a 6 million sales rank. I would never do that. If you're picking these books up at thrift stores for $3 and they're selling for $72, to me that's a no-brainer. Just take that book, take that risk. I wouldn't send it into an FBA warehouse because, granted, with a 6 million sales rank, yeah, it's probably not going to sell in the first year. It might, but it probably won't. To throw it on a shelf in an MFN capacity and leave it sit there for 5 years, it costs you virtually nothing to store it. And all you have to do is wait for it to sell. And over time of acquiring enough of those books, you'll find that like 10% of them sell every month. And it creates a really good moving business by just having those books sitting there and picking off 10% each month. This is something that's really powerful, really important. And what the biggest thing I want to make everybody aware of in this episode is that I laid out a very, very simple criteria. FBA books. Don't buy anything over 2 million, $10 profit. I will tell you that I do $10 profit because I can get enough books that give me a $10 profit. If you're not getting a $10 profit, you play with that number. You drop that down. If you're like, wow, I can get so many more books than I could ever use at that profit, then raise your profit up. Just adjust those numbers little by little to find that sweet spot for your sourcing. And then MFN, 3 million, $10 profit. Again, adjust the profit up or down based on how many books you want to get. That's all you need to do to source. It's that simple. And it does work. Now, okay, you do this for a month. I mean, I always tell anybody that gets into this, if you're not willing to do this for 6 months, then without seeing any sort of real profit, then don't even bother to do it. Because it takes time to build this up. It takes time to become profitable. It takes time to become successful. If you're not willing to put that time in, then you shouldn't even bother doing this because you're just throwing money down the toilet. But if you're willing to put that time in, you're going to find 6 months, a year and a half, this business is just going to keep building upon itself and building upon itself. And it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger as long as you are actively out getting new inventory at all time. And an important aspect of this is that what happens is, let's just say you set yourself at a target goal of $200 a month. I'm going to buy $200 a month, put them into my store. Well, what's going to happen is your inventory supply is going to continue to grow and grow and grow over time. So if you're only buying 200 books, now to buy those 200 books, it's going to take you a lot of time. You're not going to get a lot of return in the first month. But now let's just say month 2, you buy another 200 books, but you had 125 books left over that didn't sell from the previous month. Well, now you can see your inventory is progressively growing. And because of that, the amount you're going to get paid to source those 2 books or those $200 a month is going to steadily increase over time because you did not, because that bank of inventory is sitting there growing. Even though you're buying the same 200 books you bought last month, I mean, it's not going to be the same 200 bucks, but the same amount of books. You're investing pretty much the same amount of time. But instead of now you have a bank of 300 books or 600 books or 800 books, depending on how you do this. As you continue to do that, it's just going to get better and better and better. So the name of this game is to be slow, patient, and in due time, you're going to see the dividends pay themselves. Think about it. If you understand the concept of compound interest, well, book selling works the same thing. It's compound books. The more books you get in your bank, the more money they're going to generate and the more money you're going to make on your end. And if you just keep a consistent sourcing method, which, like I said, 200 books a month, that's just going to, your work level is not going to go up, and it's just going to continue to grow over time. Hopefully that helps you with getting started with figuring out how to source books. Now I just want to talk about a couple of ways to find places to source books. Like I said, most people do library book sales, bookstores, and thrift stores. Well, bookstores, thrift stores, easy. Go to Google, search thrift stores near me. They'll give you a list of all the thrift stores near you. Go to Google, type in bookstores near me. Same thing. They're going to give you a list of bookstores near you. And so that's a good starting point. And depending on where you are, you might have a lot, you might have a little. When I used to go out and physically source bookstores, we did a lot of Goodwills. We did a lot of half-price books. They were both really, really good sources for us. That might be a good place to see if you have any of those options in your area. And the other big option that you have is going to be library book sales. And library book sales are exactly that. They're just book sales put on by libraries to get rid of excess inventory they have. They bring in a lot of donations from the community, and they'll have sales with all those books. And so like a lot of these libraries will have an annual book sale to sell those items. And those are great ways to get a hold of books. They can be competitive depending on where you go. We used to do a lot of shopping down in the Chicagoland area, and the booksellers, at least 15 years ago, 10 years ago, they were ridiculous down there. There was people throwing elbows and stuff, like getting kicked out of sales because of the things they were doing to try and get these books to sell. And that could have changed now, but it is also still very possible that it's that bad or has gotten worse. So just be aware of that. But if you want to tap into those sources, a great resource to look at is a website called booksalefinder.com. Booksalefinder.com. You're going to go to it and you're going to look at the website and you're going to think, man, this thing looks like it was made in 1980. And that's probably because it was. But it still is the definitive source to find library stores in your area. So they have a little map there. You just click on your state or whatever state you're going to, if you're going to another state, and it'll bring up all the different sales that are happening in that area. Not every sale on the planet is on there. Yeah, if a library doesn't know about booksalefinder.com, they don't put the book sale on there. So, and people swear by, if you can find those book sales that aren't on booksalefinder.com, they're gold, because there's going to be no other booksellers at that book sale. They're extremely difficult to find. And I can also tell you from a lot of experience with dealing with booksellers and the way they source, that every bookseller sources in a different way. So even if you go to a book sale and there's another bookseller there, or there's 10 other booksellers there, you will still be able to find books, because inevitably everybody's tastes are slightly different, and those booksellers are going to leave back books behind that you would buy, and vice versa. You're going to leave books that they would buy. So that's another key to this, is if you ever go to a place and see somebody there scanning, and don't just walk in, look and say, oh, he's scanning, I'm done, I'm out. At least give it a try. Because that guy could be leaving every book that you want behind, because his criteria for books is so different. At least give the